The last thing we have here is gut bacteria. Bacteria, microbes of the digestive tract. These intestinal bacteria do a number of fantastic things. We have literally, damn it, I was going to bring that article. It's upstairs somewhere. I don't know where it is. We have a number of bacteria all over. We have bacteria on our skin. Fantastic. They do a lot of great things. And as long as I don't cut myself and they don't get inside, when they get inside, they're not supposed to be there. Now they're going to wreak havoc. But when they're on the outside, cool. That's all right. Bacteria, Helicobacter pylori in my stomach. Fantastic. Okay. It's been there for a millennia. All right. We have bacteria here as well in this large intestine. This bacteria does a number of fantastic things. It helps to break down things that we don't have enzymes for. And when we start getting into the macros here, you'll see that phenomenon. So it helps us to break down undigested foods, foods that we can't break down, no enzymes for. They like it. They will take a little piece off, and that helps them to grow. It's fantastic. Okay? And certain foods help to ensure certain bacterial species thrive in our large intestine. They help us to make things. They help us to make vitamin K. That's probably the biggest one. Okay. They also help us to make biotin, thiamine, B12. So they help to make a lot of fantastic vitamins that we will be talking about in Unit 3. Helps us to metabolize certain phytochemicals, okay, into a form that our body can use. So it helps us to break down phenols so we can have an antioxidant effect associated with them. It can produce a number of substances that the intestinal cells, specifically the colon, because that's where these guys are at within the large intestine, they can utilize for energy to help us to synthesize vitamins, to ferment undigested content. That sounds fantastic, but there's even a whole hell of a lot more when it comes to them. There are a vast number of species within the bacterial biome of the large intestine. Certain foods dictate which certain species of bacteria colonate. They've done they've done a lot of interesting studies on it. Here's this study looking at the gut microbiome and its role in obesity. And this, we're finding out, is really hardwired to what happened in utero when you were growing inside mom. Those that were shown to have been birthed vaginally, those that were shown to be breastfed, they have a different microbiome than individuals who were not. Okay. Let's say you were born cesarean, but you're still breastfed. Okay, so you still got some great, fantastic bacteria. Okay. Your microbiome is different from somebody who was never breastfed. And this is affecting the individual in the form of it's making them a little bit more effective at handling your macronutrients. So you stay a little bit more leaner. They found, recent studies have shown that intestinal bacteria in obese humans and mice are different from those than in lean ones. And I'm trying to remember the video off the top of my head. It was a Netflix, it was one of those documentaries in the health field. It may be in What the Health. It may have been there. I think they talk about it in the video that I'm going to show you here a little bit later in the semester. But I know he did another documentary, the guy that they were following. They do research on the microbiome of Americans and compare that to other groups of people all over the globe to find out if our microbiomes are all different. Well, they go and they look at a lot of the individuals, the hunter-gatherer tribes in Africa and Australia and whatnot. And the Hadza tribe is kind of the big one that I've seen in a lot of documentaries. And they are doing, and I don't think I have a thing anymore. There is, if you look up the poop cure online, it's a little link to a PBS, like a 15-minute little video where it looks at fecal transplants. And that's exactly what you think. You take the fecal content from this group of individuals who has a much more better microbiome and bacteria in their large intestine. Take that, spin it down, put it in a turkey baster and on up and introduce that bacterial microbiome into your microbiome. And it's pretty interesting, some of the studies, and it's pretty interesting, some of the videos that you can find. Again, that the poop cure is what that one was that I was kind of describing about. And that's similar to some of the other documentaries in the Netflix field of nutrition, I believe, if you search around there. There's also a link to a fact sheet there from the University of Washington, excuse me, that shows some of all that off as well. There it is. See, poop cure, booyah. There you go. Click the link and watch a discussion on poop. Okay. As you can kind of see, they use it to treat Clostridium difficile infections. And it could be helpful with helping with some of those chronic intestinal disease disorders, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. So it's pretty interesting. What can you do to ensure, you're like, hell, I don't know if I was birthed vaginally or I was breastfed. What can you do? You can take things. Okay. You can take things. You can take a prebiotic. You've probably heard that one. Okay. Prebiotics. There. Prebiotics, they are probiotics. Those are just the supplement you find in the cold case in the health food store. Okay. And those are some of the primary species, lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Those are the kind of two major ones. If you do take a probiotic, fantastic. Okay. Promotes good health, does a lot of fantastic things. It ensures that those good species thrive. Pay attention to the size, because different bottles have different potency levels. So look for the cultures. Okay, how many millions of cultures of bacteria are within each of those little bitty pills? But there's a lot of fun, fantastic research out there that looks at some of the effectiveness, and there's some that look at some of the shortcomings of probiotics. But it is something that I take. I give it to both my kids as well. We do the lower end of the spectrum. There's a kid version for prebiotic. They don't take an adult version. Good Lord, he'd be on the pot all day long. We do smaller culture numbers. For me, if I do a high number, I'm sure you all love to know my BIOL schedule, but if I do a whole lot and do a high potency one, you get clean. Prebiotics are different from probiotics. Prebiotics you don't necessarily buy. Prebiotics are just substances found within food. Okay? So if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you get a vast amount of prebiotics. These are some of the building blocks for what help to feed some of the bacteria within your large intestine. Okay? So if you eat real whole food, you've got it. Okay? And you may only have to take a probiotic really, in the wintertime when you're more susceptible for infection. If you take an antibiotic, that kills a lot of those bacteria down there. And you got to reseed it, repopulate it. So Taking a probiotic when you're taking an antibiotic can be really helpful to help prevent some of that bloated feeling that you get when you get sick and you're on an antibiotic. Just that gut kind of crampiness as well that'll help to ensure that the good survive and the bad don't take over.